Hello, all my lovelies. Gather round. I want to share with you something that has really helped me through processing grief. I'll tell you, it's a little windy out here, but I'll tell you a story, and then we'll do a little practice that really helps shift even deep grief when you're experiencing it, not to escape from it, but to use a technology that actually exists in your body to shift it, to open it, to move it through. So there's been a lot of grief in my world over the last 8 months. I've known 5 people that have passed away. There's been 5 other crazy big shock grief things that have occurred in my world. And so navigating it has become a priority in my life and just to have a normal day. And I was driving south, headed on this long drive, a 16-hour drive, as I do for the winter. I migrate for the winter. And I found out the night before that somebody I knew had passed away. And it was a younger person, and I knew the family. And I was just crying, feeling the grief for the family, feeling the grief for that person and how they passed. And it was also resonating. I'd lost my sister 4 months earlier, and it was resonating with my grief from that, and just really crying on and off for hours. And then I started remembering something. For some reason it came in, a little reminder that Matias de Stephano, I love him and I love his work. He was talking about, he's going through the periodic table and all the elements right now, and talking about what each element actually represents and means to the human. And he was talking about how iron corresponds with faith. And for some reason that popped up in my mind. And I had heard it and I thought, oh, that was interesting, and just didn't think much about it. But then I was thinking about grief and faith, and feeling into those two, and feeling how faith seemed to soothe grief. And then I kind of more deeply connected with it. And here's the visualization. I'll somehow give you either a link to what this looks like, or you can look it up on your own. But hemoglobin in your red cells, your hemoglobin has iron in the center. So there's an iron molecule, and then this like cage-like structure that's around it. And so you have, I don't know how many, maybe millions of these iron-centric cells moving around in your body at any one time. And if iron corresponds to faith, then that is one place where we can put consciousness and resonate with it. So imagine in your body, imagine in your blood, so you're connecting, you're going within to something very specific. You're going into red blood cell. Have you ever seen a red blood cell? They're kind of like a thick pancake that's a little bit concave in the center, and they are red. And the molecular structure is kind of cage-like with the iron in the center. And so just imagine as you go deeper and deeper into that red blood cell that you see that cage molecule and you see that iron. And that iron really means faith. Feel the frequency of faith in that molecule. And the more you connect with it, the more you feel the grief. It kind of expands the grief out and shifts it. So we're not ignoring it. We're not just shifting to something else or distracting ourselves. You're actually shifting the grief into something else. You're transmuting it. So you might have to try this multiple times, and you might feel a little bit of the expansion and then feel back in the grief, depending on how deep the grief is that you're working with. But keep coming back to it. I think I had to do it 3 or 4 times. And there was also something about driving. There's something about when you're moving down a road, your processing becomes easier too. So I think it was also a component of driving. So maybe take a drive and practice this. But also sitting in meditation. If you first just do I love alternate nostril breathing. I love lengthening the exhale compared to the inhale. But most recently, because what's most important with surprise grief is making sure that your diaphragm is moving and being able to expand. Because what happens when we're in grief is that we do these shallow breaths in our chest, and we don't allow the breath to get fully into that diaphragm. So let's just do 3 breaths here. So inhale and try to first expand that diaphragm as much as you can. And not everybody has access to that, and that's okay. Just try to get that expansion in your belly first before it gets into your chest, and exhale. And if you can, let's do both. Let's do the inhale and try to make the exhale even a second longer. And then let's do a third one. Inhale, we're first going to expand that diaphragm out. And exhale a little bit longer than the inhale through the mouth. And squeeze that diaphragm tight. And so you should have done 3 of those exhales of the diaphragm. And now we're going to imagine going in the body. If you've ever seen that movie Inner Space from the 80s, going inner space in the body, finding a red blood cell, which there are so many of them. Going in there and seeing this cage molecule around an iron. And recognizing that the frequency and the message of that iron is faith. And so before this, you were connecting with the grief. You were in a very specific grief about something. Maybe somebody passed. Maybe you're in a big life transition. Maybe there's somebody you need to let go of in a relationship. There are so many different aspects where grief comes up in our world, and we don't even realize it, and we don't take the time to fully metabolize it. And we just move on. So choose something very specific that you know that there's some grief about. And then feel into that iron in the center of every blood cell in your body, that now you're consciously connecting with faith. And feel how that shifts somatically. Feel how there's maybe an opening, maybe an expansion. Maybe it's just a shift out of the state of grief into something else. And notice that you can think about what that grief was about. And maybe there's not as much grief there in this moment. And that may shift in the next moment. That may shift 5 minutes from now. That may shift 10 minutes from now. And then you can repeat the process. You don't necessarily have to do the breath work, but you can. It always helps. But just keep connecting with the iron in the center of that hemoglobin, and realize that that's faith. That you have faith in every red blood cell in your body. That's a lot. You have a lot of faith. You have a lot of faith to access. And it's amazing that all that is there for you to access at any moment that you just put your consciousness on it. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Play with that. Send me a message and let me know how that works for you. It's been so powerful for me moving through a lot of grief in my world, and I hope it is for you too. Sending you all my love. Hello, all my lovelies. Gather round. I want to share with you something that has really helped me through processing grief. I'll tell you, it's a little windy out here, but I'll tell you a story, and then we'll do a little practice that really helps shift even deep grief when you're experiencing it, not to escape from it, but to use a technology that